Imagine looking up at the sky and spotting a mysterious object so clear and detailed that it defies all explanations. Recent sightings from around the world are giving us some of the clearest images of UFOs ever recorded, raising eyebrows and sparking countless questions. But what makes these sightings stand out? Are they truly evidence of something beyond our understanding? Or are we just seeing the results of advanced technology? Join us today as we explore the clearest UFO sightings in history, diving into the images and stories that continue to baffle experts and enthusiasts alike. A ring-shaped UFO was spotted over Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, creating one of the clearest UFO sightings on record. This mysterious object has a distinct, dark, ring-shaped body, easily visible against the sky. As it descends toward Earth, the lower side, which faces downward, reveals a unique structure with a series of groove-like indentations. The UFO's movement suggests a controlled descent, almost as if it were landing or coming in for a closer look. Now let's move towards another UFO sighting from history. The Cash-Landrum incident has captivated both researchers and UFO enthusiasts for years. This mysterious event, which took place on a remote Texas highway in 1980, stands out as one of the most unusual UFO encounters ever recorded. Despite extensive investigations and numerous theories, the true details of what happened and what it means are still unclear. Recently, however, a photograph of the unidentified object has been released, adding new evidence that something unexplained was indeed involved. After their visit, Vicki Landrum, along with her grandson Colby and her friend Betty Cash, started their drive back to Dayton, Texas. Their evening took an unexpected and terrifying turn as they reached Huffman. What they experienced next was both astonishing and deeply unsettling, leaving them permanently impacted. This stretch of road was known for its profound isolation, connecting a few small towns while remaining largely deserted. Although only 30 miles from the busy city of Houston, it was possible to drive this road without encountering another person. The road's remoteness offered a unique sense of solitude and calm, allowing travelers to take in the scenic landscape without interruption. As they traveled down the deserted highway, about half an hour had passed when an unusual and mesmerizing sight drew the attention of all three travelers. A strange, radiant blue diamond appeared to fall from the sky, gracefully slicing through the air. It hovered at a low altitude, effortlessly gliding over the lush trees lining the road. As the unidentified object moved across the sky, bursts of intense flames erupted from its underside, resembling fiery cones. Each burst propelled the mysterious craft higher, allowing it to float as it surveyed the landscape below. Driven by the hope of evading the object, they pressed on, but to their surprise, it descended onto the road ahead, forcing Betty to slam on the brakes. This unexpected encounter left them immobilized, filling the atmosphere with uncertainty and curiosity as they contemplated the nature and intentions of this strange phenomenon. A sense of wonder washed over the trio as they gazed at the dazzling, gem-like spacecraft in front of them. However, as moments passed, Colby's initial fascination shifted to growing fear and unease. Both women decided to exit the vehicle to investigate the extraordinary sight. Betty moved to the front of the car for a closer look, while Vicki opted to stay in her seat for a moment, possibly needing time to collect her thoughts. Despite the intense heat radiating against her face, Betty couldn't tear her eyes away from the enigmatic object. The entire area seemed to glow with a light emitted by the craft, illuminating everything as if it were daylight. The object's surface appeared dull and metallic, with blunt edges, while several blue lights flickered intermittently in the center, creating a captivating display. As the craft descended, a distinct beeping sound filled the air, heightening the sense of mystery and fascination. When Betty tried to open the car door, she discovered it was extremely hot. Unable to touch it directly, she wrapped her jacket around her hand for protection and eventually managed to open the door to get inside. Hearing the thud of helicopters, large military ones, approaching from different directions, Betty later recalled that they seemed to be trying to surround the unusual object. Within seconds, the strange craft, shaped like a diamond, began to rise above the trees, trailing behind the helicopters. It gradually pulled away, leaving the three witnesses feeling terrified and confused, stranded on the deserted stretch of highway that had fallen into an eerie silence. It was an extraordinary sight that would forever be etched in their memories. After turning on the air conditioning to cool down the car's interior, Betty started her journey home. Occasionally, she spotted a UFO hovering in the distance. The brightness from the unidentified flying object was so intense that it illuminated the helicopters still flying alongside it. After spending time with Vicky and Colby at Vicky's house, Betty returned home. Little did they know that within hours, all three would begin to experience various troubling symptoms, including blisters, swelling in the neck, nausea, and even loss of consciousness. Betty's condition worsened quickly. She narrowly escaped slipping into a coma and ended up at Houston Parkway Hospital. To make matters worse, Betty faced the distressing fallout of losing her hair in clumps and suffering facial swelling that impaired her vision. This series of events left her in a precarious state, requiring urgent medical attention and care. All three witnesses of the strange events, especially Betty, who was the most affected, showed symptoms indicative of radiation exposure. Their physical state was so concerning that many nurses initially believed they were suffering from severe burns. The signs of radiation impact were clear in both their appearance and behavior, reflecting a significant toll on their health. Although they eventually managed to move past the traumatic experience, they continued to struggle with the emergence of unexpected blister-like lesions on their skin. The unsettling phenomenon they experienced that night resulted in lasting health issues that persisted throughout their lives. Colby is still alive today and has been fortunate in managing the effects of that encounter, but both Betty and Vicky sadly passed away from their respective conditions in 1998 and 2007. This account highlights the long-term impact that such unusual incidents can have on individuals and their well-being. Several months later, in April 1981, another unexpected event took place in Dayton, adding further complexity to the already strange incident. To generate publicity, a CH-47 helicopter was set to land in Dayton, giving the public a chance to see the aircraft up close and speak with the pilot. In an effort to ease Colby's anxiety about helicopter noises, Vicky thought it would be helpful to bring him to this event. During the pilot's interaction with attendees, he claimed to have previously been in the area due to an encounter with a UFO. However, Vicky, one of the individuals from the earlier incident, quickly stepped forward to recount the injuries she had suffered during that strange event. To her surprise, the pilot's demeanor changed dramatically, and he quickly took steps to have both Vicky and Colby, presumably another involved person, removed from the scene. The pilot firmly refused to provide any further details about their encounter with the unidentified flying object. This sudden change in the pilot's demeanor left Vicky and Colby confused and feeling left out of the discussion. According to a report from the visit organization, another person who was at the scene came forward to share their account of the event. In their statement, they confirmed that they witnessed the interaction that took place. Additionally, Visit was able to track down the pilot involved, who agreed to share information on the condition of anonymity. While the pilot didn't reveal extensive details, he did acknowledge being aware of the incident and the injuries suffered by Vicky, Betty, and Colby. This confirmation provides more insight into the events, supporting the credibility of the incident report and the seriousness of the injuries sustained by those involved. While the case itself is intriguing, its connection to the United States military adds an extra layer of interest. It's surprising to learn that reports of military CH-47 helicopters being present during UFO sightings are more common than expected. This particular detail caught the attention of investigators, who examined it closely. Notably, both commercial and military airfields denied any involvement in the incident, claiming they had not dispatched any CH-47 helicopters that evening. They further stated that the presence of CH-47 helicopters is not typical at their locations. This only deepens the mystery surrounding the situation. In addition to Cash-Landrum and Betty Cash, 3 other individuals stepped forward as witnesses to the sighting of the diamond-shaped craft that evening. Among them was an off-duty police officer with his wife and an oil field worker returning home. Unlike Landrum and Cash, these witnesses did not stop and exit their vehicles, which meant they did not experience any illness or injury. All the witnesses confirmed the presence of multiple high-strength military helicopters in the area. Their additional testimonies strengthen the credibility of the incident and offer a broader perspective on the events that occurred that night. Vicky agreed to undergo a hypnotic regression session with Dr. Leo Sprinkle, a respected professor from Wyoming University, to investigate the details of her experience further. This thorough approach aimed to uncover the specifics of her encounter. After the sessions, Doctor, Sprinkle became convinced of Vicky's account, strongly believing that the unidentified craft she saw was indeed under intelligent control. Many UFO researchers expressed doubts and concerns regarding the extent of military involvement in these incidents. This topic is particularly captivating as it involves a thorough investigation of various cases. It's clear that those connected to the events of December 1980 are aware of the significant suffering experienced by those affected. Unfortunately, no known efforts have been made to provide assistance, whether financial or medical. It's important to note that there is no solid evidence indicating that the neglect surrounding these incidents was intended to harm any witnesses involved. Despite the unfortunate treatment they faced after the encounter, it seems these individuals were merely in the wrong place at the wrong time. This absence of support and the difficult situations they encountered underscore the need for a more compassionate response to their challenges. On May 10, 2007, a person named Chad emailed Coast to Coast AM radio with photos showing an unusual aerial object spotted over Bakersfield, California. One photo was reportedly taken earlier by Chad's spouse on a mobile phone, while the others were taken on May 6, 2007. All these images were then uploaded to the Coast to Coast website. In April 2007, while out on a walk, Chad and his spouse noticed a large, unusual object in the sky. His spouse captured a photo using her phone, and a few days later, a neighbor and friend lent them a camera to take more high-quality images. They found the object again and took several high-resolution photos. The craft reportedly moves almost silently and with very smooth motion. It generally drifts slowly until it suddenly accelerates at high speed, vanishing from view almost instantly. Another report came from Deborah McKinley of California, who submitted a sighting to the Mutual UFO Network on May 12, 2007. She included 2 mobile phone images taken in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, on May 5, 2007, showing a similar object. According to her account, around 7 p.m., she observed a rotating object moving slowly in the sky near Lake Tahoe. As she was heading to her car to grab a jacket, she saw the object, which was nearby but still above the trees, moving slowly and rotating as it drifted to the right of her view. Initially, she was surprised and confused, feeling the urge to capture it on camera, though her camera was indoors. They quickly used their cell phone to capture 2 photos before the object disappeared beneath the house's roof. They then hurried to the other side of the house, calling for their spouse to come and see. By the time they got there, they spotted it just as it slipped behind a group of trees. While the husband couldn't get a clear look, he saw enough to convince him it was a highly unusual object. They decided to take a short drive around the area, hoping to see it again, but their efforts were unsuccessful, and they didn't see it the following day either. They were renting the cabin for the weekend, and although unfamiliar with the neighbors, felt sure others must have seen it. The object stood out and looked quite unusual. They felt a bit uneasy, though the husband remained calm and more intrigued than afraid. The object made almost no sound, emitting only a faint and hard-to-describe vibration. Both of them noticed the sound, although it was nearly silent. The object moved in a straight line over the house, but as it reappeared on the other side and descended below the trees, It made a sharp, sudden turn. Its movement was controlled unlike that of a helicopter or plane. During their drive, they encountered a man a few blocks away and asked if he had seen anything. He hadn't noticed anything unusual, but they asked if he'd heard any odd sounds and tried to describe it. He was unsure, saying he might have heard something but couldn't be certain. The mysterious object's movement is often described as mechanical, similar to an insect's. This silent vessel would glide slowly, then suddenly dart to a new spot, repeating this pattern. It would appear instantly and disappear just as quickly. The object's size and shape would change, and the images looked different as well. Unlike the ultra-clear, sharp quality of Chad's earlier photos, the drones now appear distant, blurry, and less defined. A person known only as Isaac shared a set of electronic messages with Coast to Coast AM, claiming to have worked as a scientist in a highly classified UFO research center. His messages included scanned research documents he allegedly smuggled out, along with images and a detailed letter explaining his background. Isaac made it clear that he didn't mind who shared the photos and documents, as long as they used the materials he provided. The document Isaac shared is about 12 pages long and contains intriguing details. Isaac claims he worked as a computer scientist for the Department of Defense and was recruited in the early 1980s to join the CARET laboratory in Palo Alto. According to him, this secret facility was located 5 levels underground beneath an unremarkable building in California, where he held a leadership role. His main responsibility was to decode the alien language found on the underside of the drone's wings. The lab, run by the military, aimed to develop technology that could be patented, sold, and used to fund other classified projects. Each lab area had guards, and people had to undergo strip searches when entering or leaving. A strict need-to-know policy was enforced by the higher-ups, which eventually became a burden for the scientists. Disturbed by management practices, Isaac, a few years after joining the lab, began secretly taking documents by hiding them in his trousers and walking out casually. Eventually, he resigned. Though he had considered going public, it was Chad's photographs that finally compelled him to act. In his letter, Isaac claims that the mysterious objects are scaled-up versions of anti-gravity devices he designed at Palo Alto's CARET laboratory. As proof, Isaac included a photograph of alien artifacts he claims he worked on, showing how, when assembled, they form the drone's central ring, countering the idea that these images are CGI. If someone had added a digital drone to a photo, they likely would have gone to the trouble of creating a physical model for Isaac's images. The most intriguing part of Isaac's account involves an alien script. Initial online attempts to decode the language failed, but Isaac offered a different explanation. He described it as a system of symbols and geometric patterns that form functional diagrams. Once drawn on a suitable surface with the right material, under a specific field, these symbols begin to perform specific tasks. He suggests that if you were to write a phrase in this alien language on the right kind of paper and place it on a table, the table would exhibit the action described by the phrase. Soon after Isaac shared the photos and his explanation, he disappeared. Later, someone discovered a massive object above the Eastern Pacific, captured through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Tropical Pacific Weather Channel. The observer, who looped the footage, noted a large triangular object, estimated to be half the size of Mexico. The triangular shape hovered over the ocean, remaining in view for more than 7 hours, which the observer described as highly unusual, noting that he routinely monitors the live feed and had never seen anything this large before. He ruled out a simple cloud formation, or glitch, as the object stayed stationary. Black triangle sightings have been reported worldwide for decades, with enthusiasts tracing them back centuries. The mysterious triangular crafts started gaining attention in the late 1980s and early 1990s, when witnesses described them as large, dark, silent, and triangular, often with bright lights at each corner. These sightings, reported across the United States, United Kingdom, Mexico, Japan, and more, caught researchers' interest due to the similar descriptions provided by witnesses globally. Witnesses often report seeing these triangular crafts either hovering quietly in the sky or moving at rapid speeds. The origin of these black triangles remains widely debated. Several theories have been suggested to explain these sightings. Skeptics argue that these triangles may be classified military aircraft in testing or on surveillance missions, with the secretive nature of such programs possibly explaining the lack of official recognition. However, numerous witnesses have observed these black triangles hovering above the ocean. While many unidentified objects are seen above land, there is a growing collection of observations and theories suggesting these objects might have a significant interest in the oceans. One key reason these objects could be drawn to the oceans is the vast availability of water. Earth is unique in having massive oceans of liquid water, a critical resource that might attract interest from advanced civilizations. Water is essential for life as we know it, and it's possible these unidentified objects are monitoring Earth's oceans while seeking habitable environments. The oceans, which hold some of the most unexplored ecosystems on the planet, are rich in diverse life forms, many of which remain undiscovered by humans.